Yud Zayin Amid Aleph 17A1. What? Say that again? That's it? Okay, so then we're going to go. Okay, 17A1. Yud Zayin Amid Aleph. So yesterday we're in the right column, the right paragraph. So yesterday we had a stira, contradiction from the Mishnah in Masechtas Tamid versus the Mishnah in Masechtas Midos. And if you remember our little handy picture, we're now talking back at the four rooms of the Beis HaMoiked. Room number 36, and then 37, 38, 39, 40. Right up there. Or to do the whole picture, it's by the orange on top. Okay? The four rooms that were on top. No, not the yellow, the orange. Remember the orange, the four rooms that we started yesterday with. There was an argument, where was the Lishchas Hatiloyim? Where was the room of the sheep? Was it in the southwest corner, room number 37, which lies in the holy, which lies within the framework of the Beis HaMikdash? Or no, was it really in room 40? In room 40 in the northwest corner, i.e. the Washington State corner, and that over there would have put it obviously outside the walls of the Beis HaMikdash and not be cold. Now, and we explained it that one Mishnah is going by the Rebbe ben Yaakov, the other is like the Rabbanon, and that's how we explain the difference in those in the contradiction. Comes along our Gemara today and says, really, there is no contradiction at all. It's only a question in perspective, in how you enter the whole Beis HaMoiked, how you enter into the whole complex, four-room complex, and in fact, you have to change your own perspective. We looked at the four rooms like we always do. There's the center, the Beis HaMoiked, and the four rooms were in each one of the corners of the Beis HaMoiked. Or as our diagram says, rooms number 37, 38, 39, and 40. Says our Gemara now, no. Everybody look at diagram B in number 2 on Daf Yud Zayin Amud Aleph. Daf Yud Zayin Amud Aleph, the Gemara is now going to say, in fact, the Lishchas HaTeloim in the southwest, the Chamber of Lands, was in fact not a room, a square room in the corner. In fact, was a long rectangle room starting in the southwest area, low down, but not exactly in the corner, going all the way into more than halfway up into the northwest. Does everybody see diagram B on 17A1? Daddy, do you see it? Down on the bottom. Yeah. Okay, so what that does,
closer to the south than to the north.
Right, so it's obviously closer to the south than the north, but it's not just in the southwest. So that changes our perspective now. It's not four square boxes stuck in the corners. In fact, the southwest room, the Chamber of the Lambs, was a much larger, the Lishchas HaTeloim was a much larger, long room. It started in the southwest, but more than halfway to the northwest. So now, if you're coming from the north and you're looking at that room, it's going to look like the room is all the way in the southwest. If you come from the south and you look at that room, it's sure going to look like it's in the northwest. So it's a question of perspective. Now, having said that, there's one other thing we have to do, and then we can get to this Gemara. Everybody has to know the difference between counterclockwise and clockwise. How do you walk around? When the Mishnah went ahead and said, okay, we have one room, and then it started listing out all the other rooms, did it mean, like we always assume, you move to your right? You move to your right. So if you started in the northwest, you move to your right to the southwest, the southeast, to the northeast? Or no, in fact, you went clockwise, which means that you would go to the northeast, the south, the southeast, the southwest. It's a question of perspective on how you walk around. So that is the entire totality of most of the Gemara that we're going to learn today. And that is what this whole picture with the Rashis and the Tosfos and all that is just on this conversation, exactly what we said, that we're not dealing with 4 corner rooms, but 3 corner rooms and one elongated southwest room. And then the question is, how did you walk around? So here we begin. And hopefully everybody understands that, here we go. That in fact there is no problem between the Mishnah in Midos and the Mishnah in Talmud. There's no stira where the Lishchas HaKoloim was, where the Chamber of the Lambs were. Everybody agrees it was in the southwest, in the California section of the Beis HaMikdash. But it wasn't a square. It was a long rectangle going up towards Washington State, northwest. This room, the Chamber of Lands, the Lishchas HaKoloim, extended towards both corners on the west side of the Beis HaMikdash, of the house of the Hall of the Fire, but it did not reach each corner. In other words, it was a long rectangle, mostly in the southwest, but inching its way up past the halfway point into the northwest. So one was coming from the north, looking south at the room. The room certainly looked like it was in the south of the hall. But if somebody came from the south looking north, if somebody came from the south looking north, it sure looked like the room was in the north. Okay, now we're on 17A2. 17A2. So says the Gemara, Mistabra, and it's logical to say that Ma'aravis Deroimis Have, that this chamber was mainly in the southwestern segment. Nimai, where do I come to say this? Because when we looked at those two Mishnahs in Midos and in Talmud, we recognize that we really actually have a contradiction. Where was the room of the Lechem HaPonim, the Lishchas Lechem HaPonim? Yesterday we said that the Lishchas Lechem HaPonim was in the Florida section, was in room number 38 in the picture, which is to say in the southeastern corner of the Beis HaMikdash, the southeast, the Florida section. But in fact, it's not so simple. In the Mishnah, in Masechtas Midas, we said it was clearly in the southeast. But in the Mishnah in Midas clearly said, it said, Lishchas Lechem HaPonim is Mizrachis Deroimis, the southeast. But the Mishnah in Masechtas Talmud,
it's northeast.
It didn't even say that. It said nothing. It didn't tell us at all where the Lechem HaPonim was. We derived it. How did we derive it? It doesn't say that. It goes like this. When the Mishnah over there in Talmud said that the Lishchas HaTeloim was in Tzefonis Marobis, was in the northwest. Remember the Mishnah said, in fact, that the Lishchas HaTeloim, the chamber of the sheep, was not in the southwest in California, but was in room number 40, was in the northwest in Washington State, right? Outside the walls of the Beis Hamikdash. So if that was the only thing we knew from the Mishnah in Tomei, that the Lishchas HaTeleh was in the northwest in Cain, based upon the minyan that the Mishnah over there counted out of the other rooms, starting with the Lishchas HaTeleh, which the Mishnah in Tomei said was in the northwest, right? Work your way around. If you step out of the room and you start going right, i.e. to the southwest, then and keep going, you'll turn out, you got 3 turns, southwest, southeast, northeast. It will turn out that the Lechem HaPonim is in fact in room number 39 in the northeast, in the New England section of the Beis Hamikdash. So therefore we now have a stira. Again, the Mishnah in Midos clearly said that the Lishchas Lechem HaPonim is in the southeast. The Mishnah in Tomei only said one thing clearly, that the Lishchas HaTeloim is in the northwest. So now we have to derive. So then, in the Mishnah in Tomei, which said that the Lishchas HaTeloim is in the northwest, and then started listing out all the other rooms, all the other 3 other rooms. The third room from there was the Lishchas Lechem HaPonim. So since we always logically make right turns, as we're going to see, so the right turn when you step out of the northwest is to go to the southwest. Good. Southwest was 1, southeast is 2, northeast is 3. So according to the Mishnah and Talmud, if you work your way through it, the Lishchas Lechem HaPonim, which is the third room mentioned after the Lishchas HaTeleh, would be in the northeast, as opposed to the Mishnah in Midos, which clearly says that the Lishchas Lechem HaPonim is in the southeast. So how do we explain it? Umishaninon, and we said, V'Amar Rav Huna b'Rei Rabbi Yeshua, says Rav Huna the son of Rabbi Yeshua, Mar Kachashiv Derech Yamin. The master, the man, the Yoma, the Tana in Masechtas Midos moves everything in the direction of left to right. In other words, he goes in Midos. He's talking about walking counterclockwise. He said, yes, you go ahead and you go from left to right. You go from left to right. Well, the master, the Tana in Masechtas Tavid, said you go in the direction of right to left. You go in the direction of right to left. In other words, you start on the right and you work your way to the left. You go clockwise. The bottom line.
Say that again. Clockwise is right to left.
Clockwise is right to left.
To left. And counterclockwise
is right, is left to right.
Right.
So in other words, what does this mean that you're always going to the right? Does it mean you're going clockwise, which is to say you're going clockwise, which is left to right, or you're going counterclockwise? I mean, you're going either counterclockwise, which is left to right, or you're going clockwise, which is right to left. Either way, depending on your perspective on how you're supposed to walk, clockwise or counterclockwise, guess what happens, everybody? You end up in the same spot in the southeast. You end up in the southeast, and by definition, and the definition is, since everybody ends up in the southeast, we don't have a problem we don't have a problem. And this is, of course, working on the idea. And again, the idea is going to be that the room, when we said it was in the north, when the Mishnah that's in Talmud said it's in the north, the chamber of the Teleh, the chamber of the sheep was in the north, it doesn't mean it was actually in the north. It means it was in the southwestern room, which extends into the north, because it's a rectangle room that extends out. Back to the page before, diagram B on 17A1, where the chamber of lambs, the chamber of Teleh, is mostly in the southwest, but is partially in the north. Let's keep going. We're now on Amid Bays. Amid Bays, Yud Zayin Amid Bays, because we have to continue. E Amrit. Now we're on Yud Zayin Amid Bays. So have on them agree Florida. I'm stuck. Can you guys hear me? I just got cut out. Charlie, can you hear me?
And
Now we can hear
there
you.
was about 2-3 minutes we didn't, when you started on 17B1.
Okay, so good. Let me
Imar
start again.
Shlama, I didn't hear you.
Oh, okay, 17B1. Here we go. So we're going to do it. Ready? Here we go. There's something wrong with my internet. So it's me. Okay. Amrit, this is all good.
Are you on your iPhone?
Yeah, I'm on my...
Are you on your iPhone?
Android. Yeah, I'm on an Android.
Okay.
Am I good? Am I?
You're good.
You're good. Okay. I don't know what's going on. There's something going on my internet today. Anyways, Charlie, I caught your problem. I caught your internet problem from 2 weeks ago. There we go. So here we go. This is all good. That we're going to end up in the southeast, that everybody's going to agree that the southeast corner, i.e. the Florida corner of the Beis HaMikdash, will be the Lishchas Ponim Lechem HaPonim, the room of the Lechem HaPonim. It works. That the room of the lamps, the Lishchas HaTaloim, is mainly in the southwest sector, meaning look at diagram A, on diagram A, right on the page, that in fact, the chamber of the lambs is an elongated room. It is a rectangle room starting in the southwest, but extending into the northwest. So therefore, this is how we're going to explain the apparent contradiction between where is the room of the Lechem HaPonim. Is it in New England, in the northeast, or in the southeast? Everybody agrees it's in the southeast. It's in Boca Raton. It's in Florida. Because it's only a perspective, everybody agreed. When the Mishnah Talmud said that the Lishchas HaTaloim, that the chamber of lamps is in the northwest, it didn't mean it's in the northwest room. It means it was in the southwest room on the northern part of the southwest room. It's in the northern part of the southwest room of that big room, that chamber of thing past the midway point of that room. So now it's only a question, which way do you walk around? Either way, if you walk around from left to right, you end up with what do you call it? The chamber of what do you call it? You're going to end up with, everybody's going to end up in the southeast. If you're going to say, that the Mishnah in Talmud actually meant that it's actually in the room, in the northwest room, in the Washington State room. That's what it meant. So my Tirutz the Lechem HaPonim, how are you going to explain the contradiction of the Lechem HaPonim? Based upon that, one of them is going to end up in the northeast corner, one is going to end up in the southeast corner. Elah, what are we saying? That in fact, The Lishkas Hataleh, the Chamber of the Lambs, is actually situated mostly in the southwest area of the Beis HaMikdash. Just it extends into the northwest, and that's what the Mishnah and Talmud meant. But everybody's agreeing that in fact it's really in the southwest room. Just where in the southwest room do you put the Taloyim? Shema Mina, from here we have a raya. So says the Gemara, wait a minute, Rapuda, this the Teretz of Yeshua, that's the way you're going to explain the Mishnahs and Talmud. But we learned that all turns that you should make should be to the right and to the east. So how could you say that there is a machlokes between walking around clockwise and counterclockwise? In fact, it's clear that it should be counterclockwise, right? It should be going, you should be going to the right and to the east, right to left, okay? And for the Gemara, that's only talking about the actual service, the temple service, the Beis HaMikdash, the Avodas Kahanim in the Beis HaMikdash. The way they turned, they were careful to turn always to their right and always Mizrach. This is very similar, Rabbi Say, when we give a Sefer Torah, when we take the Sefer Torah out of somebody's house and we bring it to shul, we try to figure out not the shortest way to the shul, but what's the way that you only can make right-hand turns going to the shul. The whole idea is to try to make right-hand turns. Exactly. So however that turns out to be. That's exactly, now you're seeing where we're getting it from. Hani meaning the avoida, because the avoida in the Beis HaMikdash was always right turns, right to the east. But Abul Hacha, we were talking about the binyan of the Mikdash, we're talking about its infrastructure. But Abul Hacha, Kushbana Ba'almahu, it's only simply cheshbon. And on cheshbon, that's not a big deal, whether you're going clockwise or counterclockwise. That's, again, only a picture of perception. So here's the bottom line. Because believe it or not, we're almost finished the daf today. Here's the bottom line. The Gemara today is saying, in truth, we got no machlokes. We got no machlokes. Number one, we're not talking about 4 rooms of equal size in each 4 corners. In fact, the southwestern room, the Chamber of the Lambs, the Lishkas Hataleh, was a rectangle starting in the southwest, extending into the northwest. And in fact, the Mishnah and Talmud, when it says that it's in the northwest, only meant it's in the northwest portion of the southwest room. That's what it meant. And then the only question was, how do you walk around? What does it mean to your right? Clockwise or counterclockwise? In other words, in essence, they were each coming from their own different perspective. This is essentially 2 people see a car crash. Everybody knows the rule that each person will see it from their own perspective. You will not get the exact same story from 2 different people, because that's the way it is. People come with their biases, people come with their perspectives, and sometimes they don't see the forest from the trees. Okay, now we go further. Says the Mishnah, the Kohen Gadol's got all the powers in the Mishnah. He has the right to offer up any portion. He has the right to bring any carbon first. At any time during the year, he's superseding any of the Mishmars and the base Avs whose turn it really was. And he takes the first portion, meaning he can go in and say, I'm so sorry, I want to eat from this sacrifice. Says the Gemara, Tadu Rabbanan, Kate said Makriv Chelik B'Rosh. How does the Kohen Gadol exercise his rights, his first rights to the portions? He says, Oila zu ani Makriv. I will offer this Oila. Mincha zu ani Makriv. I will offer this Mincha. Kate said Noito Chelik B'Rosh. He has to say, Oimer, Chatazu ani oichel, Oshim zeh ani oichel. I will eat this chatas, I will eat this oshim. Now, just before, what's going on here? The Gemara is teaching us something about Menschlichkeit. The Kohen can't simply just barge his way in and grab the food, or barge his way in and do the offer. He has to state his intention, because at least there has to be Seder and Menschlichkeit, and not a barroom brawl taking place. And he takes, we're on 17b2, 17b2, and he takes one loaf of the two loaves of it on Shavuos. As you remember, the second day of Pesach was the Korban Omer. He brought the Omer offering, the grain offering from the new grains from the Chodesh, and that allowed the people of Klal Yisrael to use the Chodesh. On Shavuos, we brought the Shtei Alechem, the two loaves, also from Chodesh, also from the new grains, and that allowed us to start using the new grains in the Beis Hamikdash. Now, he's allowed to take 50% of those loaves. The Kohen Gadol is allowed to say, hey, I want one of the loaves. And that's 50% of the loaves, of the two loaves. And now, we know that every Shabbat on the Shulchan Azav, on the gold table, there were 12 challahs, 6 on one side, 6 on the other side. Every Shabbos, those challahs were removed. 6 by the mishma that was leaving, the mishma that had worked the whole week, the mishma of coming had worked the whole week, and 6 were taken by the mishma that was coming in the afternoon, that was replacing them, the new mishma of Kahana. So now, says the Gemara, and the Kohen Gadol could take 4 or 5 loaves from the lechem aponim. Now, obviously, this needs explanation. 4 or 5 is not 6. We just said that he could take one of the 2 loaves of
50%
of the Shavuos, of the Shtei Alechem. Mashma, is entitled to 50%. Then he should be entitled to 6 loaves of challah. So, what's pshat 5? What's pshat 4? So very clearly, the Rabbanon seem to be saying here that in fact, the Tanna Kama seems to be saying that in fact that the Kohen Gadol is not entitled to a full 50%. He gets less than 50%. The Shtei Alechem, the 2 breads by Shavuos. Let the Gemara get to that. Okay? Let the Gemara get to that. Rabbi says, Li'olam Chamesh. He always takes 5. He's entitled to half. Because it says, Sheneva v'hoisa la'Aaron u'levonav. And if the lechem aponim should be for Aaron and his sons. Mechza le'Aaron, half to Aaron, u'mechza levonav, and half to his sons. What's the problem with this? Okay. So Rav is saying that the Kohen Gadol is always entitled to palga, to half. What's half of 12? 6. What's
need to calculate.
What's 5? Where did 5 come from? So that's what the Gemara is about to tackle. Number 1, you said you take 50% of the Shtei Alechems on Shavuos. You take 1 loaf, the Kohen Gadol is entitled to 1 loaf out of 2. Mani, who's the Tana who said this? It's got to be Rebbe. Rebbe Udi Yoma Palgish Shokel, that the Kohen Gadol takes half. Right? Wait a minute. But Ika Mitziasa, take a look at the middle section of the same Baraisa. That the Kohen Gadol is only entitled to 4 or 5 of the production of the Lechem Apon. We've come to the Rabbanon who say the Kohen Gadol is not entitled to 100%, 50%. He's only entitled to slightly less than 50%. And now let's go to the last section of the Brisa. Rebbe Oimeli Oilam Chamesh. He always gets 5. So are we saying that Reisha the Sefer Rebbe Umitziasa Rabbanon? That of the one Brisa, the beginning of it is like Rebbe, that the Kohen is entitled to a full 50%. He gets 1 out of the 2 loaves of Shavuos. The Seifa is like Rabbi all the way at the end, where he says he gets 5 of the loaves. Of course, we don't understand that because it's 12 loaves, and after 12 is 6. How do we get the 5? We haven't explained it yet. And the middle is Rabbanon, where they say 4 or 5. So what's going on? Says the Gemara, Amar Rabaya, no. In reality, Reishu Mitziasa Rabbanon, the first section that says you take 1 out of 2 loaves for the Kohen Gadol, 50% palga, is still the Rabbanon, and certainly the second section by the Lechem HaPanim that says 4 or 5 is certainly the Rabbanon. What's going on? Because with regard to the 2 loaves of Shavuos, the Shtei HaLechem of Shavuos, Moed Rabbanon, the Perusa, the Lab Urcha'ara Lemis of the Kohen Gadol, that in order to give the Kohen Gadol less than 50%, you would obviously have to break one of the 2 breads, which means you're giving the Kohen Gadol a broken loaf.
An incomplete loaf. Yeah.
That's not proper. That's already not proper. You don't give Rabbi Kibber a half a piece of cake, a broken piece of cake. You got to give him a nicely cut challah. You can't give him a broken challah. It doesn't work that way. That's it. You can't give kahanim, the kidashta. You got to make them holy. You got no choices. The only way you give him less than 50% is by breaking that one of those challahs. Says the Rabbana, that we're not going to do. So therefore, we don't got any choices. So over there, we'll give him 1 out of the 2 challahs, which just so happens to be palga. But that's not the reason why we're giving you that.
He had no choice.
Only because of COVID.
He had no choice.
No choices. We are now on tomorrow's daf. Daf Yud Ches Amid Aleph. Daf Yud Ches Amid Aleph. Umay Arba B'Chomesh. But what did the Rabbana mean by 4 or 5? Remember, we still don't understand where any of these numbers come from because it should be 6 or 5. 6 if I hold halga half, 5 if I hold slightly less than half. So what's going on? Inquiring minds want to know, and now we're going to know. Umay arba oichamesh. What's arba oichamesh? Li Rabbanan, according to the Rabbanan de Amri, nichnas noitel sheish, biyoytze noitel sheish. With regard to Shabbos, the outgoing kahanim of the week take 6 of the challahs on one side and replace it with, obviously, with 6 new ones. And in the afternoon, when the new kahanim come in, the kahanim coming in for the new week come in, they take the other 6 and replace it with new challahs. Okay, so that's 6 and 6. L'Rabbanon. The Amri Nichnas Noitel Sheish V'Yoytze Noitel Sheish. The outgoing Kahanim take 6 in the morning, and the incoming Kahanim take 6 in the evening, right? And there and Usechar Hagofas Tilasoi Sloi, and the extra loaves that were given to the incoming watch are not given as compensation for closing the doors of the Beis Hamikdash that evening, since the incoming Kahanim are now in charge. They've got one extra job. They've got to close, they got to lock things down. They're the security. We don't pay them for the security, says the Rabban. They're not getting extra loaves from the Lechem HaPanim.
I thought this was our job to close the door.
Apparently, Daddy. Yeah, so apparently us guys, you know, I get the impression that we didn't work too hard. We were the schleppers. That's what we were. We were the schleppers. We had to sing, we had to learn to play music. If they needed us to schlep boxes, we were the schleppers. That's why Rashi says that at age 50, you know, Levium only work from 30 to 50. Kahanim worked from 25 to 60. But Kahanim only worked 30 to 50. Rashi says at 50 they retired. What is they retired? From masa, from carrying. That's what Rashi says. At 50, it doesn't mean that the Kahanim are retired from singing and from going on the duchen and playing music. No. The Levium, they're not retired from singing and playing. They're retired from schlepping. So when I turned 50, I turned to my wife. I said, I'm 50. I'm sorry. I'm retired. That's it. I'm not allowed to schlep anymore. The Torah says I'm retired at 50. Also allowed to do masa anymore. So that's really what it is, Daddy, if you really want to get to the truth. So we guys got the short end of the stick. Anyway, so here we go. So it goes like this. And they didn't get compensation for closing the doors of the base of Mikdash in the evening. So the Kohen Gadol should take his share out of the 12 loaves, which means that how many should he get? 6 loaves. But
out of 10.
Take off one because the Rabbanan said the Kohen Gadol gets slightly less than half. We let him go first, but we don't let him be equal to all the other Kahanim. We're not going to let his ego get out of shape over here. He gets slightly less. And therefore, Kamei Shakli gets 5. Le Rabbi Yehuda, who does say, Le Rabbi Yehuda, but according to Rabbi Yehuda, that says, Nichnas Noitel Sheva, that the one who comes in actually takes 12 loaves.
There's 2 extra loaves.
He takes 7 of the 12 loaves. The Yoitzi, the Kahanim who are leaving, only take 5 loaves. The incoming Kahanim takes 7 loaves, 6 from one side and 1 from the other side. And Shtayim B'schara Gofas Dalsas, 2 are extra as compensation for closing the doors. Okay? The Yoitzi Noitel Chamesh, and that means outgoing Kahanim in the morning take only 5 loaves. The Kohen Gadol should therefore take his share out of only 10 loaves, since 2 loaves are given as compensation for the Kahanim who are doing the security of closing down the Beis HaMikdash, and therefore that has nothing to do with the Kohen Gadol's share. It may be that there are 12 loaves on the Shulchan, but the Gemara is saying, Rabbi Yehuda is saying, take off 2. 2 have nothing to do with the thing. It has to do with paying off the security. That money, 2 of those loaves are for paying off the security, which means you're left with 10. Half of 10 is 5, according to Rabbi Yehuda, because the Kohen Gadol does get exactly 5. Now, now subtract from one of the 5 slightly less if you hold that the Kohen Gadol does not get exactly 5. He doesn't get exactly 5. He doesn't get exactly palgo. He doesn't get exactly half. He gets slightly less than half because we don't want it to be equal to all the other Kahanim. You're left with 4. Now, that's fine. No. I'm going to tell you that, in fact, the whole Baraisa that before we said is the beginning and the Rabbanan and the middle Rebbe, or no, what's going on? He says, Kula Rebbe. In fact, the entire Baraisa is Rebbe that the Kohen Gadol is entitled to half. He's entitled to half the loaves. He's always entitled to part. He's equal to all the other Kohanim. But Rebbe happens to also hold the Savala to Rebbe Yehuda. And he holds like Rabbi Yehuda that 2 of the loaves, in fact, go for compensation for the security. So we're not dealing with 12 loaves, we're dealing with 10 loaves, because 2 of the loaves are off to the side for security. And half of 10 is 5. So say to Gemara my arba, hachamish by the mishkol. So then if you're going to tell me the whole Bryce is Rebbe, then what's arba? Oy chamesh. It should never be the number 4 in our Baraisa. Says the Gemara like Kasha. It's not a question. Oh, the Ikam Mishamim Akve. In the case where the Kohen Gadol only takes 4 loaves, is weird. There's an extra watch that stays over. We're on 18A2, heading to the Mishnah. 18A2. Yud Chesam and Aleph, number 2 in the art scroll. It's in the case of Yom Tov, where an extra watch stays over as a result of Yom Tov. This is a case where Shabbos and Yom Tov bang into each other. So traveling wasn't possible, etc. So sometimes we're in a rare occasion like that. The outgoing watch stayed an extra day. Since this watch is allowed in 2 lobes, reducing the number of lobes from 12 to, in fact, 8.
Eight,
Because
so half of 8 is 4. Yeah.
Two went to security, and 2 went to the overtime, to pay them for overtime for the
Yeah, late.
Mishma Hayotzi, the Mishnah that was leaving, the guy that was leaving that had to stay for an extra day. So therefore, in such a case, you're not dealing with 12 lobes, you're actually dealing with 8 lobes, and half of 8 is 4. In the case of where he gets 5, is where there is no, it's not a Yom Tov into Shabbos or
And
Shabbos.
then you take from 10. Yeah.
You're dealing with 10 because the other 2 are put aside for security, leaving over 10, and he gets 5. So it says the Gemara, if there is a watch that does stay over, the Kohen Gadol needs to take 50% of 8, because 2 are put to security, 2 are put to overtime, leaving over 8. The Shakal but he takes 4. But if they did not have to stay over, there was no overtime. He takes from 10, because the extra 2 was set aside for security. The Shakal Chamesh, and he takes 5. Frank the Gemara, if that's true what you just said, my Rebbe Oime, the Oilam Chamesh. Why does the Brisa say sometimes the Kohen Gadol takes 4 or 5, and then the Brisa specifically says Rebbe says Li Oilam Chamesh, which would then seem to make it very clear that the statement 4 or 5 is not Rebbe HaKadosh, it's the Rabbanon. And for the Gemara Kasha, you got a Kasha. I could figure my way out of it. I can work my way out of it by saying that Rebbe is merely coming to explain his own words. That when it says 4 or 5, Rebbe says, he gets 5, he gets half. On a rare occasion, it'll be 4 because the half is 4 because the compensation is doubled, A for security and B for overtime. But the Rebbe Oilam Chametz is really to explain the economic words before 4 or 5 for the Lechem Aponim. But it's a fakfetch to teretz. It's a squeezed in teretz. So the Gemara leaves off with Kasha. Very good, everybody. We are up to the Mishnah on tomorrow's Mishnah on Yud Ches Amud Aleph.